Hello and welcome to episode 140 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach,
And I'm Jeff.
and we're a source for drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
That's right. Just a couple of regular dudes drinking some irregular beers and talking about Magic the Gathering, in particular, the online client, MTG Arena.
That's right. And this episode, we're actually talking about the newest format, Timeless. This is the first time we're going to really dive deeper into the format. We've had some time over the holiday break to actually get into it. And so now we're going to tell you what we think. But first, each week we drink a beer. We rate it on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. So with that, Jeff, what's on tap?
All right,
Cool.
super pumped about this. On the one hand, I'm really excited. On the other, like after I drink this, I will have no more Barrel Heart beers in my fridge.
That's right.
But this is Barrel Heart. We've had them multiple times on the show. We did a Goza that was fantastic. We did like one with cherries that was really good.
Oof.
And then last week we tried just their base beer that they use, or it's not necessarily the one they use, but it's essentially a
Yeah,
facsimile of their base beer,
could be.
which was really good. And this week we have a really interesting one. This one is their aged saison, but it's aged on wine grapes.
Hmm.
It is called Night and Day, both sweet things. It's 7%. And Zach, why don't you go ahead and read the little poem?
All right, so all these come with a little poem, and this one says, Ale and grapes, rising gold and shimmering purple, like the night and day, both sweet things. Oh, all right.
It's interesting that I think ale is day and grapes is night,
It's
right?
night,
Like
but they,
they swap. They first they had the gold and then the purple, and then they switched it to night and
to
day.
night and day.
Wonder why they did that.
I
Maybe
don't know.
day and night. It's just because of the Kid Cudi song. They're like, that we don't want to call it day and night.
Oh, I actually don't feel like I'm familiar with that. I'm probably familiar with the
What?
song. I'm probably familiar with the song if
Day
I
and
heard
night.
it.
I toss a turn. I keep stressing my
Oh, right.
mind.
Okay. Sure. I just didn't know that's what it was called. And I'm really bad with song names because I
Also,
don't.
it was popular like 10 years ago or
That's
something.
true. Yeah,
A long
old
time.
man.
Our listeners are like, what? Who's the hell is Kid
Who?
Cudi?
I
He
am
did that and
almost.
then he disappeared, all right?
I am almost someone who doesn't know who Kid
Nobody
Cudi
knows
is.
why.
Anyway, Jeff, let's get this going. Let's crack it and keep moving. Okay, so we do have some magic news as we pour this beer out. Ooh,
Don't pour it out, man.
yeah. Sorry, pour it into a glass. Um, it's the new year! Hooray! 2024.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, really
You heard it here
exciting.
first, folks.
Yeah, you had no idea that it's a new year. But we got some exciting stuff. Last year was pretty great. We talked all about what we thought about the past year in our last episode, right before the break for the holidays. But now I'm feeling really good. I'm ready to like hit the ground running, get some stuff going, do some things. Um, it's been really exciting. It's good so far. So yeah. Anyway, um, we actually have a qualifier weekend next weekend, January 14th or 13th and 14th. It's Explorer. So that means that this weekend is the best of one, the play-in, and then next Friday is the best of three play-in for the best of three qualifier, as always. But it's nice that it's a format I actually like. So,
Yeah.
sweet.
I have some bad news about this. I am not qualified for this event. So, for those who don't know, if you finish in the top 200 in either
Oh
limited
no.
or constructed in the ranked season, you auto qualify for this. You don't have to play in the
Plan.
qualifier for the qualifier for
Hmm.
the thing. I was soundly in the top 200 until December 29th when I had a rough night. And then I think, oh no, on my birthday I had a pretty rough night, but that pushed me
Uh,
to like close to 200. It maybe had to do with like going out with my family, having a few drinks, coming back, having a few drinks more, and
yeah.
firing up Arena.
Maybe,
Um,
just
you
maybe.
never know. and by the way, like rough night on my birthday, I think I went 4-2. Okay, but that lost me hundreds of rank.
Hmm.
So um and then the really rough night on the 29th, I'm pretty sure I was like 50-50. I was like 4-4. But
Yeah.
that pushed me because you gain like 20 rank when you win and you lose 100 if you lose. So it's just like when you're ranked like
Up
30,
there at the top.
the
Yeah.
lowest I got was 34 or 35, something like
Hmm.
that. Um anyways, I got like plummeted down to 600 and something, and then I was like, there's just no way for me to in
To
2 days to fight. And it's 2 days that I'm not really gonna play.
yeah.
Um so anyways, if you finish in the top 1200, you do get a free entry into the
Play
play-in.
in.
So you get 20 play-in points or whatever.
Hmm.
So I got that instead of the free entry. I
You're like,
I will use those on this one, I think. I think Explorer's a fun one. So I'm actually, if I can play in either of the play-in events, I have enough for two entries and close to a third. So I I like to try and take advantage when it's a format that I like.
yeah.
So I'm gonna try, but it would have been really nice to just not have to do the play-in.
Yeah. Yeah, because they can be kind of
And I
frustrating.
don't know if I'll be able to do the best of three one, so I may have to like try
Best
to
of one.
get in there on best of one,
Yikes.
which is like, I don't know. I'll probably just play Grease Fang if I'm going to do best of one because that seems like a busted deck in best of one.
Yeah. Ugh. Anyway, that's
I
going next
tried.
week.
I failed, and it
You
sucks.
did great. Um, but anyway, I'm sorry that you fell out of it, but
I was so confident too. Every night
mhm,
just seemed to be like, oh, you log in, you push yourself back up 50 just to give yourself a buffer with a few wins,
mhm,
and you gotta say that just kept happening, and I was like never losing, and then
yeah,
variance caught up with me, and I just like
lost
was
at
like,
the
oh
end.
damn it. I wonder if I may have been high enough, like
Just stop
under
playing.
100 with 2 days left. But my instinct was that on the last day, there's going to be a flurry of people playing to try and push in, and I was going to get
Probably.
pushed out. So,
Though it is New Year's Eve, so
yeah, true. This might have been the time to like
just let it
just
go.
sit, or maybe it's crazier. I have no idea.
That's true. That's true. Um,
But I don't know. I took the gamble. I decided to crack a few beers and jump into the Explorer queues.
see,
And it was just like
I may have
every match.
found I may have found the
The two
problem.
times that I got really drunk. No, just a few. Um, it was like the exact same match, and I got so many Rakdos mid-range pairings, like
Hmm.
mirror matches, which I'm very confident in. So I was like, yes, we're getting the pairings. And then I lost basically the same match every time, where like game one, I just didn't hit my third land. And then game two or three, I was just like flood out like crazy. And there's a
Yeah.
shield on the battlefield, and I'm just like, draw a card, take two, you attack, draw a card, take
Hmm.
two, you attack. I was like, tough way to go, man. Tough way to
That's
go. It's
rough.
like the
Rough.
matchup I actively want, and
Hmm.
I just wasn't
You
winning
get
them.
it.
And then I was beating matchups I normally lose to like balance out. but
Ugh.
but when you're vying for top 200, balancing out is nowhere near
Not
good enough.
not
You're
good
gonna be
enough.
winning like 80%. It's crazy.
Yeah. Woof. But
Anyways, I wouldn't
anyway,
advise anyone bother with it. You need way too high a win rate to stay there, and you need to play like all the time. It's
yeah,
just play the just get your play points from the fucking
from the
the
events.
leagues.
Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, there is another event happening this month. The Arena Open is January 20th to the 21st, so it's the following weekend after the qualifier play-in. And it's Lost Caverns of Ixalan Limited. This is one that I'm like, oh, like I know it for whatever reason, not for whatever reason. It is the old format. We're about to go into another one. Usually this feels kind of like blah.
Mhm.
But I spent so much time playing Cons Draft. It's kind of fun to come back and be
But I
like,
was gonna say
oh,
it's almost a fresh format
hmm,
because it didn't have it for like a month, right?
hmm.
Or
But
I guess
basically, it felt like a month.
yeah, yeah.
But I've just been my Lost Caverns. I've just been abysmal. If you've been watching my stream, I've just been having such a rough time in my drafts that like, it's just I don't know how well that's gonna go, but um, anyway. The one thing that's really strange right now is that currently we have no information about the Arena Decathlon. which for the past 2 years we've had during this time. Um, and you like the first year they did it, it was during Christmas, and then the
Right.
second year they did it, it was like right after. It was like this literally these days. Um, and there's just been nothing. So unless we hear something on Monday, is there
There's
just
just no, it's just
no
quietly
decathlon?
canceled. Like, I hate when they quietly cancel it because some people are looking forward to it and possibly, and just be
Yeah.
like, hey, it's not happening. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with the arena decathlons, it's basically like a bunch of events that happen for 3 days. So there's like two events per 3 day sections, and then it's over a certain amount of period, like a certain amount of time. And if you get trophies in all 10 events, then you get certain invitations to the finals. And if you complete the finals, then you get one of every card from the new set coming out, which is super cool and really fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's
especially,
like a supercharged midweek Magic kind of thing.
yeah.
Because some of the formats, some of them are just competitive formats, and then some
Hmm.
of them
Or
are like kind of
wacky.
wacky formats. And I really,
Hmm.
that was a nice way to put it. So you don't need to win every event, you need to win a certain number of them. So if you're a wacky format player, you can just try for the wacky formats.
Hmm.
If you're a a competitive player, you can just play the competitive formats. Or if you just want to have some fun, you can play in all of them.
Yeah,
You know,
it
do it.
was. Yeah, because I think you could qualify with like 3, 6, 9, and 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
And that
something.
essentially has to do with how many losses you have to give or something, or
Yeah, you
like
basically you get extra entries. It was something where
right, right,
like
right, right.
because the first time it happened, I got all 10, and that gave me like 3 bullets for the finals. Um, so anyway, I was kind of looking forward to that. So I'm kind of bummed to hear there's nothing happening.
Yeah.
Um,
They're
but
fun events. I'd be surprised if that they just took it out.
yeah, maybe they'll just put it at a different time. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully, hopefully it comes back.
Maybe
They
they're
still get it
just their workload with like getting cons out on time and stuff.
and
They just
timeless and everything.
didn't have
So
the time to do it.
yeah. Anyway, but we'll see if that continues on in the future. But today we're actually really talking about timeless. Um,
Yes.
so just a quick overview. If you haven't heard of timeless, where have you been? I don't know. It's
Yeah.
been around for like a month. Um, but this is the new arena format. It's basically arena vintage, where you can play every single card on arena, all of the everything that's ever been put on it, historic anthologies, everything. Um, the only caveat is that 3 cards are restricted: Demonic Tutor, Channel, and Tybalt's Trickery, but everything else is on the table, including the fetch lands from cons. Um, it's been a month since it's been out, and I just want to say that this format is so awesome.
Yeah.
It's so
I wanted to
cool.
start the discussion by just giving like a huge, because this is what the show is all about.
Hmm.
And I think we need to take this moment to just give Wizards like a big thumbs up or a round of applause here. Like
Yeah,
this was
good job.
awesome. This
Hmm.
format has been out, like you said, a month, and it's still great. And none of the things the Doomsayers said would happen have happened.
Hmm.
And it's just one of the most fun formats on Arena.
Hmm.
And Wizards deserves to be acknowledged for that because they've put some stuff into this. Like they knew this was coming before we did, and
Hmm.
they made some good decisions here. And format's just awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it's sweet. I mean, like this, it's like really high-powered magic with fetch lands and shock lands, and then you have sweet cards like Lightning Bolt, Brainstorm, Demonic Tutor. You know, it's
Yeah,
just
get to play with some crazy cards that like not even legacy players get to play with.
yeah.
That's sweet.
Hmm. So it feels it feels very good, and it's one of those moments like both with cons and with this, it feels like the Wizards is giving arena players who are mostly kind of like the younger players or the Zoomers, like
Hmm.
their chance at being part of the conversation with Legacy and like the old school players to be like, hey, you've played all these really powerful cards and done these things with your Okos and whatever. Now these younger players get to do it. So I think it's a big I think it's a big thumbs up. It was a great decision, and I will say I was wrong going into it. I was very unexcited about this format, and I want to officially say I have changed my mind. I already have said this on the podcast, but I wholeheartedly Um, really, that's like the
Yeah,
constructed
you've
format I've
done
been
the
playing.
180.
So,
Anytime I go into your stream, if it's constructed, it's timeless.
yep,
So.
I have not been playing other constructed formats. So, though to be fair, my stream's mainly limited because that's what I like doing
Yeah,
the most. But yeah, I've been playing timeless.
yeah. I was super high on timeless, but there was this thing in the back of my head, like, are they
Hmm.
right that it's just going to be a bunch of turn one garbage and
Hmm.
like the format's just going to be all combo? No, no, they're not right.
Hmm.
So, I don't know. Have you experienced any turn one losses in
No,
like
not a
this one?
single
It
one.
hasn't happened to me a single time.
Mm-mm.
I barely can remember any times the game was done before turn three.
Hmm.
Like,
That's usually the fastest someone can combo off is turn three.
yeah, and I
And
don't even
you,
remember that happening to me. Like, I'm playing long games
yeah.
because the removal, the interaction is just as good as the threats. Like, a fast game is when the threats, assuming it's not a combo, but the
Hmm.
threats are just way better than the interaction.
Hmm.
So you're tempted to just play threats. But like when you have fetch lands, Fatal Push is unbelievably good.
So good.
Unholy Heat is unbelievably. It's much easier to turn on Delirium when you have fetch lands and the like.
Hmm.
Um, so the one mana, because I've been playing a lot of Explorer too, and it's just the difference in the quality of Fatal Push in those two formats is like staggering.
The
In
amount of
one, it's
times,
like okay, and in the other one, it's unbelievably good.
yeah, there's like situations where my opponent plays their shield Shieldred and I have a fatal push. I'm like, oh, how am I going to turn on revolt? I was like, oh, literally like everything
Yeah,
does it.
yeah,
Like,
it's trivial.
yeah, oh, so you have to be like Giganta is so good in the format because it costs five, you know?
Right. Yeah. And then in Explorer, I have a Shieldred in play, and my opponent just like attacks with their Blood Tithe Harvester, and I'm like, no fucking blocks.
Hmm.
Absolutely not. I am not
Yeah,
turning on revolts for
yeah.
you.
I know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I guess Blood Tithe Harvester, they could just sack it. But like a different creature
Yeah,
that they obviously attack into you. Just like, I know, we all know what you're feeling here. You're doing they have Shieldred and I have Fatal Push sweat.
that's like chump
And
attack. Yeah.
yeah, I have no way of turning on Revolt. Maybe they'll block.
Hmm.
Like,
No.
and then you get the meta, the super next level players who can turn it on already, but they want the free damage or something like that. This is just to
Yeah.
get free damage on you. I know you won't block.
And then they play the thing that gets it to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
They don't even have Fatal Push. It's a bluff.
oh, I am never. I on a side tangent. As far as bluffing and doing things like that, that is almost never something that I'm doing. I don't know if you bluff often, but um,
I would say that I bluff more than a lot of people, but still probably not enough.
mhm,
I think people should be bluffing a lot more than they are. Now, if you're in like the lower tiers, I would say just don't
don't.
don't bluff,
Hmm.
because bluffing assumes that your opponent understands the metagame, like what card you are claiming to have,
Yes.
and then understands how bad it is for them if you do have that card
Hmm.
versus like the upside of just winning your a 2/2 for free or whatever.
Hmm.
And so I think just less experienced players, it's really it's not a good idea to bluff them because like they'll just be
It'll,
like, "Oh, that's a stupid attack. Block."
yeah.
Uh,
It's I usually think of it like because I am you've played a lot of it, a lot of like more competitive stuff than I have, and I've said on the show before that you do respect your opponents a bit more than I respect my opponents, and so that
what a
could
stupid
also
attack.
that was dumb.
Block.
Yeah. Oh, and I immediately see why I'm stupid. Um, and that happens to me a lot. And I've been realizing it more because I've been streaming and everyone sees my
Yes,
mistakes and they can hold the receipts. It's a lot easier to be
right.
immediately be like, oh, I do this way too much. Before in my
Right.
mind, it was like sometimes, but
It
now it's
happens
like,
occasionally.
now it happens like often enough that I'm like, uh oh, people remember.
But honestly, when you're having a good like I've recently, like I said, been playing all these high level mythic matches. And side
Hmm.
tangent, I used to say the hardest games are in Diamond 1 because people are playing seriously to get into Mythic, and then they just play whatever they want in Mythic.
Hmm.
That's generally true, but near the end of the month, the high level mythic players are playing real decks and
Hmm.
they're playing them seriously. It's like all of a sudden, a week left to go in the season.
And then
There
everything
are no more
flips.
meme decks in Mythic. Like
Hmm.
it's all like, okay, I'm playing against domain control again.
Again.
Um, so that's I just learned basically I experienced that for the first time. So I was like, that makes sense.
Hmm.
But and you get these like 92 percenters, right? Now they're on a meta deck. It's like 92%. No way you were on a meta deck like yesterday. It's just
Hmm.
I get to run into the pair down who is playing a meta deck. And
Yeah.
so if I lose, I get screwed in rating. And if I win, I get nothing. Um, so it suddenly flips where you're hoping for the diamond opponent rather than a really low mythic opponent because the
Gotcha.
mythic opponent will be stronger.
Hmm.
But for the most part, it is true that like once people get into Mythic, they just kind of mess around, at
Yeah.
least early in the season. But yeah, playing those, high level Mythic games, you get these opportunities to bluff because your opponent knows the cards in your deck and they know what you're saying you have and stuff. And I actually love it when they call the bluff
Hmm.
and I just sit there and I always give them like a good 5 second like pause window and I just pass priority
And
and
then
then
you pass
things dies and
it.
then I give the old oops, but
Oops.
I'm just like laughing on my end. I'm like, nice, good call, I won. And then I do sometimes I do the like, I wonder what's in your hand that you are like confident to call that bluff. Like, does that mean you have another Shieldred kind of thing? Because
Yeah.
you're okay to let this one die because you have another one.
Because you have another one. Is that's the other thing. Um, I think one thing I've been running into, we've talked about this before in Timeless, but it is very much like a Orcish Bowmasters format. So you're
Yeah,
looking at if your opponent has two open mana, like your black opponent passes the turn without playing something, especially if you played like your uh whatever mana dork you're playing, and they don't kill it with the fatal push. It's like, all right, so they're definitely holding up Bowmasters.
exactly. Yeah.
Becomes like the new thing. So my thing to all of you is just don't attack with your 1/2s into your opponent's open to black mana. Like it's gonna be
Yeah.
bad for you.
I'm glad you brought this up because so I don't know. I know you're a part of the X Magic community, and so you'll get some
Yeah,
amount
I'm
of
on Twitter.
and I don't mean like it used to be a Magic community. I mean it's the Magic community on the website X.
On Twitter,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. I don't know how much like timeless discussion happens there, but I follow now some timeless or a timeless Reddit subreddit.
Hmm.
And the number of threads I see posted that say Orcish Bowmasters needs to be banned is insane. And so I wanted to talk about Orcish Bowmasters
Okay,
for a second.
give
Is
it
it
to
one
us.
of the, if not, is it one of the best cards in the format? Yes, it is.
Yes.
Is it extremely warping? Yeah.
Yeah.
And what you just said is a big part of it. First of all, the card is very, very good if you walk face first into it.
Hmm.
Then it's excellent. It is not a card that you can't do anything about. It is actually pretty easy to play around as far as cards go, and it's pretty easy to build your deck not to be weak to it. If
Hmm.
you avoid one toughness creatures and don't
Ragavan.
just flood your deck with draw spells,
Yeah.
then this card doesn't do anything. It's like
Hmm.
whatever that
It's
standard card that makes 2/1/1s is.
almost actively horrible. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
the white card.
resolute
Yeah,
reinforcements.
reinforcements.
Yeah. And that card
Um,
is not timeless play. I mean, it does ping you, I guess, but it's like it's not timeless playable. So I think this is an awesome card to be. I don't know if it's the best card, but let's just say it is for the sake of argument.
mhm.
This is a great card to have as the best card in the format
Yeah.
because you can do something about it. It is extremely attackable. Like some cards that are the best, like if Oko were the best card in the format, which I don't think it is,
No.
but when Oko is good, it's because there's just not really anything you can do about it. Like
Hmm.
it's just going to sit there and generate advantage, and you're going to lose. This card it's a creature. It's a couple of 1/1s, guys. Like
Hmm.
don't jam Brainstorm when they have one and a black up.
So
Just
it's so
stop
easy. Just
stop
don't do
doing
that.
that. I know it's the ideal time for you in a vacuum
Hmm.
based on your hand and like what you have to cast Brainstorm. But your opponent knows that. It's why they left one in a black up.
Yeah.
Like,
It's also and I want to say this in a different sense that I've been seeing a lot of this with arena players specifically too when we're doing the same thing of like bringing a legacy format ish to
right.
arena.
That's the other thing. I see it in the Magic Arena subreddit, and not like the timeless
Yeah,
specific one, and then also just the general arena one.
it's not even just saying that bowmasters is like should be banned. Just when you're playing with bowmasters, don't forget to do the fucking shit you're supposed to do, which is play it into your opponent's brainstorm.
Right.
Like, don't the amount of times when you just like brainstorm and then your opponent just lets you brainstorm and then end of turn plays bowmaster, you're just like, why the fuck did you not punish me for that? That was so stupid. Why are you
I
playing
don't
this
think I've
card?
ever
Do you,
seen that,
that
but
happens. That happens. So I know that it sounds ridiculous, but it is this new powered format, and it seems like all these, and a lot of people don't know what they're doing. There's a deck that we're going to talk about later, and somebody was so mad at Orcish Bowmasters that they ripped my hand. Like they were playing Thoughtseize and their Inquisitions and taking all my Orcish Bowmasters when I had all my combo pieces in my hand, and they just didn't take the combo.
they
And I'm
just
like,
hate.
and they just taken all the wrong
That's
stuff because they were so afraid of bowmasters. I'm like, it's not that great, and you don't know what I'm doing. And
right.
that's the card I wanted you to take. I'm very happy
Right.
that you did.
I'm like, hopefully they somehow take Dorkish Bowmasters instead of Natural Order. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Dorkish bowmasters is what they're called. Like, but
yeah,
like, not that the card is really good. It is, but you can definitely play around it. And
it, yeah, it has a niche. It's just that that niche is drawing card. It's good against drawing cards, which is so
mhm,
powerful in old formats that it's somewhat ubiquitous, and therefore the card is really good.
yeah,
But in a format like Standard, this card's, I mean, it's just powerful enough as 2/1/1s and a ping, I guess. But like,
mhm,
you know, as you go, more recent, less powered sets where people don't draw as many cards for as cheap, it gets worse. And so that's the like leads to the other thing I want to say. If you get rid of Bowmasters, then you have to play blue in this format
mhm,
because that's the only thing that punishes you for playing Brainstorm and Treasure Cruise and all of these outrageous draw cards is this. It's the only thing efficient enough and punishing enough against Brainstorm that it's actually makes people play around it or not do it. So if you want to ban Bowmaster, the other thing is they all say it has to be banned. Nothing will be banned in this format. It's not how it
exactly.
works.
Yeah,
It might
hopefully.
you probably want to say restricted, but
Mhm.
even that's ridiculous. Um, then it's just a brainstorm treasure cruise format. Is that what you want? Is that
Mhm.
better?
No.
Then you're gonna come in and complain that everyone has to play blue all the time to play in this format. Like,
Yeah, you're gonna be like, look at all these Izzet decks, and like, you're also gonna be
yeah,
like,
exactly.
Ragavan is running around.
Why can't I beat Phoenix? Well,
Yeah,
because you petitioned to ban Orcish Bowmasters, you
that's the
dummy.
card that
Like,
keeps it down. That
that's
pushes
the thing that
Phoenix.
Phoenix cannot beat.
It's like pushing Phoenix
It's
down to tier two,
yeah.
because they have to draw so many cards with like Faithless Looting and everything.
Their whole deck is just air that draws new cards.
Yeah, they have like considers, and that's their entire deck. So,
Without Bowmasters, you would basically every deck would have to play the One Ring,
mhm.
and you would essentially concede to it if they played theirs first. Like you need the One Ring is still crazy powerful, but Bowmasters at least gives you something.
Yeah, if there's a card I hate, it's the One Ring. That card is awful.
So on the one hand,
On the
like
One
I never
Ring,
play it. It's always on
yeah,
my opponent's side of the battlefield. So
always.
it's like I don't run them ever. So it's like
It's
I hate it in that sense. Like I'm always losing to it and I'm never winning with
Teferi.
it.
Yeah, it's a Teferi
Um,
card. Yeah.
but on the other hand, I'm really glad that the One Ring is like insanely good because if
Hmm.
they do this thing where they take the most important thing in like a set or the
That's true.
craziest character and they just make it shit, and I'm always like, that's such a bummer.
It's so
Like,
lame.
so yeah, the One Ring had to be good. Did it have to be this good? Maybe that's a different discussion.
Uh,
But like, this card is nuts. But it is 4 mana in a fast format, in a format where things cost not a lot of mana.
yeah, but it also makes sure that you don't like most of the time
Yeah,
don't die next turn. But
Yeah,
Like
but it's just like it's very thought seizable and it's just
that's
sort of
true.
rotting in your hand. So sometimes you might want to hold your thought seizes to nail them when they have 3 mana and are about to untap and
Hmm.
cast the One Ring.
Well, that's when they play Veil of Summer, so you can't. But
Yeah, yeah.
but at least that's in my experience.
Are people main decking that now?
Oh, it
Um,
always happens like in
yeah,
the
post
second
board
ones, but
games. Yeah. But
um
anyways, this format needs Bowmasters. Bowmasters is a great card, and if you hate it, just play around it. Like
yeah.
accept the challenge instead of just like you lose a bunch of games to Bowmasters and being like, "This is stupid." Analyze your deck. Are you particularly weak to Bowmasters? Look at how you're playing your cards. Don't just maybe just stop slamming Brainstorm when it's most convenient and think about how bad is it if my opponent has Orcish Bowmasters here.
Also,
That's the point of the format.
yeah. Also think about how well you keep saying playing your brainstorm when it's most convenient. Just learn that when your opponent has untapped mana, it's not as convenient as you think.
Inconvenient, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
So
if that mana is black.
mhm.
Um, and the other thing is the other argument I see all the time is that it keeps cards out of the format. That's true. It's tough to play one toughness creatures. They
Mhm.
have to be very good in the face of Bowmasters. But like just because Thalia is your favorite card doesn't mean it has a right to be in the format. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm sorry, not every card can penetrate the format. It sucks that you really like Thalia, but Thalia is not good enough because of Bowmasters. I agree. That sucks. But like, you gotta find something else, man.
Mhm.
Like, you
Yeah.
either play the Thalia and accept that it's
It'll
gonna
die.
die to Bowmasters all
Mhm.
the time,
Without being taxed.
or yeah, yeah, that's right. The fact that it's a creature is just
Mhm.
the icing on the cake for the slap in
Mhm.
the face to
Just
Thalia.
leave it on.
But like you got to decide, is Thalia good enough against everything else? Because it is really good. If Ogish Boardmasters were not in the format, it would be very good. Um, is it
Yeah.
good enough against everything else to take the fact that it's weak to the best card?
Yeah.
That's up to you. But
It's
like
up to you.
cards, just because you want Thalia to be a big part of the format doesn't mean it has to be.
Yeah. I as a player who loves Thalia, I agree that like there are other formats you get to play Thalia in, and I don't know. I've randomly mentioned Ragavan, and we've mentioned this before, but I think coming
Mhm.
into this format, people were really excited about Ragavan, and that could be where some of this hate is coming from. Where they're like, "Oh, this sweet card that I really liked, and I finally get to play it. It was talked about so much,
Crafted.
you know." And now it gets
Yeah.
killed all the time, and it ends up being like the one of the first cards I sideboard out of my deck if I'm playing it. Be like, why am I even playing this fucking card?
I was
Um,
pretty quick to take it out of my decks,
I
actually.
think it just needs to be a card you don't play anymore.
I just don't play it. Yeah.
Yeah, just because it just dies, it doesn't do enough, and it's just not
And I
it.
think the legend of if it doesn't die, you play it on turn one and it doesn't die, you win the game. I think is wildly overstated. I think it's just okay.
One time that happened to me, and I was like, "That's annoying," but I've
Yeah.
never ever had a situation where that's happened. But it's also really easy to kill,
Right.
or deal with.
I
So,
I have had Ragavan hit me, and I just chose not to kill it. And it
mhm.
like a card came off that they couldn't cast. They got a treasure token, and I took 2 damage. Is that really like I'm gonna lose the game because they got a treasure token?
Usually the reason I'm trying to kill it is because I'm blood mooning them, and I don't want them to have treasure.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If you
That's
have Blood Moon, treasure's pretty bad for you.
yeah,
But
yeah.
like
That's
it's overstated how you lose the game to a turn one Ragavan on the play if you don't have a removal spell in your hand. And also, everyone always has a removal spell in their
yeah. They
hands
have like three. What are you talking
because
about? Like
every removal spell in the
it's
format
one
kills
mana.
Ragavan.
Yeah, and they're all amazing. Like,
Actually, yeah, I actually think Dragon Rage Channeler is better than Ragavan
well, because it doesn't always die.
by a pretty
To
wide margin in this format. Actually,
yeah,
I'm way more scared of that than
hmm
Ragavan.
so it also flies. Come on.
Yeah, man, a
So
3/3 flyer for one's no joke.
yeah, it's good.
It also like surveils when you cast spells. Like,
Crazy.
get
It
out of
goes
here.
in your other decks. Um, did you want to talk about some decks that we're seeing a lot of that
Yes.
are kind of around?
Let's do the deck talk.
Um, I did want to start off by saying, like, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts, but
Mhm.
like, we first came into format and we were playing basically like 5 color money piles and then things that would like prey upon the 5 color money piles, right?
Yeah.
That's what it kind of felt like.
For
There was a
sure.
lot of like,
Like I
oh,
started with a Blood Moon deck because I was like, everyone's gonna play 5 color good stuff or 4 color
exactly.
good stuff.
And then people kind of caught on to which side do you choose, and it's kind of branched off since then.
Yeah,
But I really don't feel that that's really the
that's not
format at
where we
all.
are at the moment at
At
all.
all.
I still see 5 color money pile, but I don't remember if I said this on the show, but I certainly said it in the Discord, I think. I realized pretty quickly that the 4 color, 5 color just value money pile decks are not very good.
No,
At least I don't think they're very good.
I don't think so either.
People still play them because they like to do the. I have Rowan, Oko, and Omnath, and
I
Leyline's Binding, just like some of
mhm,
the most outrageous cards printed recently. Teferi, I think Teferi is quite bad as a format actually,
mhm.
relative to expectation. Um, I figured out pretty quickly that these are not that good. So then I was like, well, why am I playing a Blood Moon deck then? The whole idea of the Blood Moon deck was that people are going to play this deck, but and then I'll beat them because I have Blood Moon. It's like, but I'll just beat them anyways by building a
Without
two
Blood Moon,
color deck.
and
Yeah.
then I draw a second Blood Moon, and it's like, well,
Right. And like that actually opens the door for me to lose kind of
mhm.
when Blood Moon's not good. Um, the other thing is like I think the mana for those decks really does hurt you. People, they're like, oh, because the mana is so good in the format, 4 colors doesn't matter. It matters, man. Like you have a bunch of tap lands, you take a lot of damage, and this is a
Yes.
format where people deal a lot of damage. So you want to start the game at like 12 life. That's a tough sell, man. That's
Mhm.
that's a play set of lightning bolts.
There's a deck that wants to do that, but sure.
Yeah, for sure. Um, But
But
yeah,
no,
no, I,
like,
I I think that's what people maybe started to realize is like, why are we hating on a mediocre deck?
mhm.
You know?
I cannot remember the last time I saw Oko. Like,
Yeah, I've been playing against it recently for reasons that I'll get into later.
oh,
Um, but I've seen it a few times and I just like it's never that big a deal. Like I at first I was like, okay, this deck sucks, but Oko is still good. And now I'm kind of like, is Oko that good? Like my opponent turned 3 Oko'd me on the play the other day. It would have turned 2, but I killed their 1 drop.
sure.
If it was turn 2, I would have lost, I think. But it
Mhm.
was just on the battlefield the whole game. The 10 turns of the game, and I ended up winning. And it was like,
Well,
how good is Oko then?
yeah.
Like I did have to commit resources to like ping it down so it didn't swap my best
Stuff.
creature for a food token.
Yeah.
I had to limit that ability,
But you'd have to
but
kill it.
the other two abilities they were alternating activating every single turn. I still
Yeah.
beat it.
But
So to me, it's kind of like Oko is a good card, and I think it is good in this format. It's not great though. I think it's like
yeah.
it's like OKO. You know?
Oh, yeah, I like that. It's definitely when we were talking about decks that win on turn three,
Yeah.
Oko's not part of that
No.
equation.
No.
So, so do we want to talk about one of the decks that's everywhere that I see all the time and is is the business?
Okay, there's a few
Maybe.
decks that I've been seeing that I think meet that description.
All right.
Um,
I guess there's one idea of a deck, the type of thing that is I've been seeing most often, and is the one that I most, I guess, the decks I was playing was most worried about. Um,
okay, there's one deck that meets that exact description for me,
okay.
or one card, I guess.
Well, how about you tell me what you're thinking? Because I don't know if it's going to be the same, but
All right, I'll give you the two decks I was thinking of.
okay.
So from my experience, I think if I gun to my head right now, what is the best deck in the format? I would choose Rakdos Underworld Breach.
Yes.
If someone asked me which deck are you seeing all the fucking time and you really don't want to see,
Mhm.
I would say Field of the Dead. So
Okay.
I play against Field of the Dead every other match, and I never play decks that are strong against Field of the Dead. So, like I have sideboard cards full of it. My sideboard is full of shit for it because all my decks are terrible against Field of the Dead. But
Mhm.
I think the best deck in the format is Rakdos Breach.
Yeah. Um, so let's just we'll get to the Field of the Dead deck. and stuff. But Rakdos Breach, for people who have not seen this or don't know what we're talking about, the it's red and black Rakdos, and the main card for the combo, it's a big combo deck, is Underworld Breach, which is a 2 mana red enchantment that lets you escape cards out of your graveyard, any non-land card, and you can cast it, whatever, and you just have to exile 3 cards in your graveyard as an additional
Yeah,
cost. And you can play the same card over and over and over again. You don't exile the cards after you play them, which is
right.
huge.
That's the part
Really,
that
really
like
important.
feels unintuitive. I think when I first read the card when it was first printed, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't seem very good. And then the first time I played against it, I was like, oh, they play the same
Oh,
card every time. My
I
brain auto corrected to say like exile it after you cast
yeah,
it.
because you do not. Um, so the combo deck, I had played a version um, that was really low to the ground. It was using Luris as a companion,
Yeah,
um, so that you could then, of course, play more stuff in your graveyard. But you're playing like Stitcher's Supplier to get stuff into your graveyard, and then the
which
main
is honestly
combo.
just a great card. Like Stitcher's Supply is just a really good card.
Well, Stitcher's Supplier is also great with Underworld Breach because it exiles or it mills exactly the number of
Exactly
cards you need.
three. Yeah.
Hmm Which is perfect. And the whole combo is just you play Dark Ritual over and over and over again with a bunch of other random cards, and then eventually Demonic Tutor, or you use the other tutor where you sacrifice a creature to
Yeah.
go get Tendrils of Agony, or Tendrils of Agony is milled, and then you just smack your
Yeah.
opponent. Tendrils of Agony is a storm card that deals 2 damage to your opponent, and you gain 2 life.
Right.
And then it
And
copies
you
itself for
again,
every
people
card.
tend to start at like 12 life, so
Hmm
you actually don't even need that many.
No, you need like 6 copies, 7 copies, and you win the game a lot of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I've
that
had
is
games where my
that
opponent
deck.
did that. Like
Hmm
they got up to 8 or whatever, and I'm like, dude, I'm at 4. Come on.
hmm
I know you're showing off a little bit here, but like you
I
could have just
do,
pretty much cast Tendrils of Agony, and
yeah.
I was
And
pretty
you're
much
dead,
dead.
yeah. The one thing I would say is that um, playing the deck can be confusing because
Yeah.
there's a lot of like playing against the rope and trying to do things really quickly so the rope doesn't go and you don't lose, because you combo off on 1 turn and you just try to get it.
Yeah.
If you haven't don't have a ton of experience with the deck, it kind of feels like you're just spinning your wheels and you're like, what do I do next? I don't actually really know how to finish this off. I know I'm doing the thing, but um,
Right.
so just make sure you have the pieces that you need, which the most important ones are Dark Ritual and honestly Stitcher Supplier. Both of those cards are really, really important.
Yeah.
So, and
And I've
in
never
that, real quick, in that scenario, your Orcish Bowmasters is actually better to play and then ping your Stitcher Supplier to put it in your graveyard so you get more cards in your
right.
graveyard. That is what Bowmasters is for in the
Yeah.
deck.
It's also so that when people thought sees you, they take that.
Exactly.
Um, instead of Underworld Breach. Um,
Insane. Insane that that
s-
happened.
so I've never played this deck, but the reason I say it's the best is it's been showing up more and more. I've played against it more and more.
Hmm
The first time I played against it, they comboed me out, right? And I was like, that was kind of cool, actually. Like, it felt like there was very little I could have done about that.
hmm
And then I think in game two, they just they were just like a mid-range game and they just beat me. Like
hmm
they just had a totally serviceable Rakdos like Lurus deck. They didn't combo at all. And they just beat me with those cards. And I was like, all right. And then that kind of kept happening. Like I
hmm
played against this deck a lot, and it was like both game plans are really strong. Like they can either just it reminded me of rogues a bit, where it's like, are
hmm
they gonna combo me or are they gonna kill me with damage?
I can't really
Like, are they gonna
tell.
mill me or are they planning to
Like
kill me with their creatures? And like
literally,
both kind of help each other out.
yeah.
Like sometimes just a tendrils for like 4 damage is enough in an aggro deck to get over the finish line. And I was just like, this feels like there's nothing I can do because if I commit to ripping apart their combo, I just lose to like Dragon's Rage Channeler and Lurrus
hmm
and stuff.
Yeah.
And if I deal with the creatures on the board, then they combo me.
hmm
And I was just like, every time I played against the game, it's kind of that same story. And I was just like, from playing against it, the overwhelming pressure of never knowing what to do was like, this deck is fucking good. The
hmm
first time I was like, that was cute. It's like, oh, that was pretty good too. And then it's just like, as it happened more and more, I'm like, oh, this deck is so good.
Yeah.
This is like a masterpiece of a deck.
It's And also, if you have the wild cards, I highly suggest playing it. It's a lot of fun to play it and figure it out. Though I will say that it has reminded me that I don't enjoy the combo part of stuff. Where I'm like,
Right.
okay, can I combo this turn? Trying to do the mental gymnastics of figuring out, do I have enough resources of all the different types to combo off this turn, or do I have to wait till next turn? And
Right.
that is not fun to me. It hurts my brain. So
Hmm.
I'd rather play other more fun smashy decks. That's what I think.
And I love that you said that because like often I'm sitting there and my opponent's just like roping
Hmm.
and then they do nothing. And I'm like, all right, so I'm dead next turn. Like they were just calculating if I'm dead now. They decided I'm
Hmm.
not. So I have one turn.
That's a good
That
call
the
out.
only reason they were like roping for so long and then do nothing is like they think I might be dead, but they're not sure.
Hmm.
So
This
they're
is the
gonna do
weird.
something on my end step to guarantee it, and then
Yeah. Sometimes it's the weird turn of like, I have Dark Ritual in my hand. I think I have to cast this just to put Lurus in my hand. That's what the Dark
yeah,
Ritual mana is for.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then next turn, I can do everything. There was one time I had to play Lurus, and then I had to sacrifice Lurus with what the hell is that card? The tutor where you have to sacrifice a creature that we said was going
Yeah,
to be bad in
yeah,
standard, which
and
it was.
it was. I never remember the name of that card, but
Diabolical Intent. That's what it's called.
right,
Um,
because it doesn't use the word tutor, but it does.
yes.
It's diabolic,
Um,
I think. Right?
it's diabolic. Anyway, so having to do that kind of stuff made it really exciting for me, being like, how could I do this in a different way? But anyway, cool deck, best deck, really annoying deck to
Yeah,
deal with.
but
But
I'm optimistic that it's like I made it sound unbeatable by saying like it
mm,
often felt like there's nothing I could do. I did win games against it. It's not like I just got trounced every single time I played against
mm,
it, but
yeah,
I was just respecting how well built and like
it's strong.
powerful this deck
Yeah.
is.
And if it has a good start, you're probably dead. Like,
Yeah. But I'm optimistic that there's ways to fight it. If it, like, I don't think it will just run away and you have to play this. I think there are decks that could have good matchups against it.
mhm.
And like obviously, if you start the game with like a Leyline of the Void, now they're kind of a mediocre mid-range deck.
Leyline of the Void, and also people are playing Leyline of the white one, where you can't target people.
Ooh.
So then their combo is
You
just
can't you
you
can't
can't
kill me with the yeah.
with the combo, so you have to do something
But
else.
they'll adapt to that, right? Like if Empty the Warrens ever ends up on Arena or like some other way to kill.
That's
When
true.
you can generate like crazy amounts of mana and like card advantage and stuff
That's
like
true.
that, there's another
Also,
way to kill.
yeah, they do. Luckily, well, luckily, the deck does get the feed the swarm, the black enchantment removal. So
Like I
they
don't
do
know if
have.
Altar of the Brood targets, but hell, you could use that. Just mill them out.
Isn't Alter the Brood like permanents that enter the battlefield,
Yeah,
or is
yeah, so you're
it?
just like looping Stitcher's suppliers and shit.
Sure, I guess. Yeah, you can if you.
And somehow mill them out before yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, I guess you can mill it yourself because you're not going to draw cards, so there's
Yeah,
no
you
issue
can
with
play
that.
your Mishra's Bobble over and over and over again, I guess.
Yeah, there you
Um,
go.
yeah, that works ish. Um, anyway,
There's got to be something better than that. But, just
probably
spitballing, just
it's just
spitballing.
just going off the cuff here. Jeff,
Yeah,
let's talk about the Field of the Dead deck you're talking about. So
yeah. So I wouldn't even say it's a deck. It's a card that a lot of
okay,
people are playing,
playing index.
and like all the decks are a little different. I don't think there's
Hmm.
an agreed upon list of
Yeah,
what Field of the Dead looks like. But it's always has Field of the Dead. It always has like
our
Titan.
Amulet
Uh,
Titan.
yeah, and then it has like arboreal grazers and stuff,
Hmm.
that kind of
Both of
stuff. Like,
them, because we have
yes,
two.
there's two of them. I was outraged to find out that my opponent played that card on turn one. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, oh, it's
Mhm.
another arboreal grazer. I hate this. I'm almost certainly going to lose this matchup.
Yeah, so we're talking about one of the digital only cards that happens to be in the format that is actually really annoying is
Yeah,
Kami of Bamboo Groves, which is just a 1 mana 1/1 that gets a land. You can play a land from your hand on the battlefield, but
yeah.
then you could also do something else with it. Doesn't really matter. But
And they all have Uro and whatever. Some of them play Oko, some of them don't play Oko and stuff like
mhm,
that. But it's essentially just a ramp deck.
yeah.
It's a big mana ramp deck, but the win con is very difficult
Is
to interact with.
is
Like you can't
in the
just
lands.
counter the wind con kind of thing. Like that's what
Hmm.
makes it so good. I tend to play mid-rangey lists, which are traditionally awful against big mana ramp decks. And so it's always like, I have some ghost quarters in my sideboard and stuff. It's just like, they literally just sit there ramping. And
So
I thought sees them and all their cards do the same fucking thing.
yeah,
They get a land out.
and they do
And
that. Yeah,
yeah. And eventually like they end up at like 5 life, but then they have 42 zombies on the
and
battlefield.
you're
And
like, well, what are you gonna do? Yeah, see, I still play Blood Moon, so I don't have a problem with this deck.
nice. Yeah. Blood
Um,
Moon. Right. I've put in like, maybe some of those cards that you search their library for all copies of something, just remove it.
mhm,
It hasn't worked for me yet because they always get the Field of the Dead down before I draw it.
classic.
Um,
Also, those cards usually cost like 4 mana. I guess you have.
yeah, 3 is the standard, and
Yeah,
then
can the Stone Brain do that too?
Stone
Uh,
Brain, yeah.
yeah, so it's like on turn 3 you can activate it, but
And then you can play Virulent Plague, which gives tokens -2/-2
right, okay.
um, as an enchantment. Problem is, like, you have to give up Lurrus to put that in your deck. That's
That's hard. Yeah, so I've been playing a lot of Sneak Attack because ooh,
Why am I not
I
surprised?
love me some Sneak Attack.
Well, natural order sneak attack deck.
Yeah, natural order sneak attack. That's where the money is, baby. I never knew I loved World Spine Worm so much, but I really do. Um, so I've been sneak attacking World Spine Worm. So if you don't
Yeah.
know, okay, so Sneak Attack is a 4 mana red enchantment, and you can pay a single red to play any creature card from your hand, put it on the battlefield, it gains haste, and then at the end of the turn you have to sacrifice it. But if you also play Natural Order, which is a green sorcery that makes you sacrifice a green creature, and then you get to tutor up any green creature from your deck and put it onto the battlefield, you just get to sneak
Busted
attack.
card, and I think people are
Yeah.
starting to realize that.
Oh, it's
But
so good.
yeah.
You sneak attack out Atraxa. Atraxa swings, hits for 7, and then you natural order in something else or another
Yeah.
Atraxa. It's amazing.
The Atraxa finds the natural order, the natural
Hmm.
order finds the next Atraxa. It's a
Uh,
nice little chain.
it's a nice little chain. And then if you're ever worried, your World Spine Worm is a 15/15 with trample. And most people start off at like 14
It dies
life
into 3/5/5s.
with trample. And when it dies, it goes back in your deck, so you can natural order it back out. It's great.
Yeah, with one of the 5/5s.
Yeah. It's so good. Um,
Yeah, a
lots
little
of,
glass cannony, but
oh, I mean, but that should be the name of like
not
my
surprised you
stream.
played it. Yeah.
That the glass cannon, regular Zach, the glass cannon. Um,
Yeah.
my favorite decks. Uh, but yeah, anyway, so I do play
I'm
like
like the exact opposite. I want something that's like 45% against everything. Like, get
I want
it.
100 against one deck.
Yeah.
um, but anyway, I played Blood Moon in that deck because uh, you're not playing any interaction. It's all just like mana dorks, and you're trying to like see if you can Blood Moon them on whatever turn 2, and then if you Blood Moon yourself, that's okay because you're also playing Sneak Attack. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen natural order show up more and more in even like less glass cannony stuff. Like I played against Yawgmoth and they
Mhm.
natural ordered at one point, and I was like,
Oh,
oh,
interesting.
like I want to go build that deck right now.
I thought that because I think I've seen a lot of Yawgmoth decks that were playing. They're playing Court of Calling.
Yeah, they play
Um,
both. Yeah.
oh, that does sound
At
good.
least this person did. And I was
That's
like,
great.
I dig that. Because
Hey,
I think the thing like you natural order doesn't get Yawgmoth
not Yawgmoth. That's right. It.
specifically, but it gets basically everything else in the deck. It gets the
Hmm.
Hepatra that you need to combo. It gets the Young
Hmm.
Wolf, whatever. Like,
Hmm.
and I
It's
thought that was a really interesting.
addition.
Like, I don't know if you run 4, but maybe you do like 4 chords, two
Hmm.
natural orders, something like that.
Sounds good.
Um, Anyways, I lost to natural order because they had Yawgmoth, and then they found the other piece they needed.
Hmm.
And I was like, You have so many dorky creatures you don't care about. I wonder if it's better than Eldritch Evolution, which is what people usually play,
Okay.
like Court of Calling and Eldritch Evolution. This seems better, except that you can't get
You
Yawgmoth.
can't Yawgmoth. I guess you're also playing Demonic Tutor and
Yeah, yeah.
things like that.
That deck seemed really good to me, but I've only played against it the one time, and I really like. I want this is a deck I want to build and play
Yeah.
myself. But I actually don't have the Mythic Wild cards to craft
that's
Yawgmoth at the
that's what I was gonna say.
moment.
So I don't know if we want to talk about this later, or I guess we could talk about it right now. Um, but the format for Timeless is expensive. It's
Yeah, I mean, let's get into that a little bit
yeah.
because that's the narrative, right? It's
Hmm.
super expensive. Um, I'm not sure I agree in a broad sense.
Okay.
So,
Give me your take because I'm on the it's expensive side.
well, okay, so the reason it feels expensive is that we didn't have any of the cards for it. We didn't know this
Yeah.
this was a format. So maybe you didn't have brainstorms, you didn't have lightning bolts, you certainly didn't have fetch lands before Timeless was announced.
Hmm.
Uh, you're lying if you say you did. Um, but like, I don't know, I built a deck with 20 something rares and like a few mythics and then uncommons and commons. Is that more expensive than a standard deck? It's it's the same. It's just that it feels expensive because it was announced so suddenly and we didn't have any of the cards, so we had to spend them all at once.
Hmm.
Right? So when you craft a new timeless deck, it costs you the full 30 rare wild cards or whatever.
All
But
right. Okay.
a standard deck is running 30 rares too, man. Like, and standard, that deck's gonna change. Like, you're gonna have to build a new one. You
Hmm.
build one time, you build on Underworld Breach right now. You're good for a while. You're good
That's true, unless you get tired of
for a
it
long time.
or realize you don't like combo. But yes.
So I think it's too early to say the format is expensive because if they don't start releasing anthologies and stuff like that for it,
Yes.
then it's actually less expensive than like the other
Hmm.
formats. Because yeah, there's an upfront cost, but there's not like a maintenance fee if you have to update your deck every 3 months because it was made obsolete by the new cards.
That's true. That's true.
Um,
Until they have decided that they want to get their fingers, just like they're gonna do. There
but
has
like
also
a lot of the best cards aren't even rares, man. Like Fatal Push, you know?
that's true, and some of them used to be not rares, but
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm not
another
gonna get
another don't get me started on that
I'm not
again. I
going to get
already
into that
talked about
because
that.
yeah, we've talked about that before. But no, I do think you're right with in the sense that like yes, you do have to pick a deck and you have to do it, and especially when the format first came out, sinking wildcards into cards that ended up being like if I could go back and get mythic wildcards back for Ragavan, maybe like I might have. Though technically those are mythic, so I care a little bit less about those. Rare wildcards are a lot harder for me. Um, but but yeah, I should have in the past cared more about collecting cards that were technically banned in historic and I didn't. So that was what was kind of frustrating to me that like I
Yeah,
like collecting my cards through drafting and I specifically was not picking up cards in drafts like Dark Ritual
right.
because I couldn't use them anywhere else besides that draft. So there's no reason to pick an off-color Dark Ritual.
Yeah, because you're like, I don't play a lot of historic brawl, which is
Yeah,
the only
I don't
place
even
I
need
can use
one.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So why would I even do this? And
yeah,
then all of a sudden I need four of that card. I'm like, oh man, that's annoying.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
but
but here's the thing, like, let's say you're a standard player because
okay.
you're relatively new, you've been playing a year or two,
Hmm.
and you've mostly played standard because of that. Now you wanted to jump into a new format. Is it more expensive to do timeless than historic or
Uh,
explorer? Maybe explorer because so many of the good cards in explorer are recent,
mhm.
but like historic? I don't
Well,
know.
historic. You first of all, you shouldn't be playing historic. But second, just kidding. That's kind of a
What a
joke.
dumpster
Um,
fire of a format, and you're a
yeah,
dummy for liking
ridiculous.
it. Yeah.
Um,
It's not our official opinion.
it's
Well, it's half our official opinion.
half
We
of
don't we
it.
don't think you're a dummy for life.
No, no. We think it's a dumpster fire, but if you like it, that's fantastic. I'm so happy that you like it. That's great. Um, no, I don't think that historic is less expensive than timeless, really.
And like
Um,
if you're a new player, Explorers is as expensive as Timeless as well.
I would say that they're all out of reach if you're a new player. It's a lot more difficult.
Yeah, it's all just like you need 40 rare, mythic, rare wild cards for a
Hmm.
tier one deck.
Yeah,
It's just kind of the par for the course. And
yeah.
if you don't want to pay that upfront fee because you're already in standard, you're already an explorer, you're having a good time,
Oh,
that's fine. Like
yeah.
that makes sense. But I don't think that the issue you're saying is that Timeless itself is inherently too expensive. I think you're saying playing three formats is too expensive.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. That's really what it is. Um, and that in standard, most of the time I can draft my cards where timeless. I'm not like waiting till they have a Strixhaven flashback draft so I can get mystical archives, right? Um,
Yeah, but standard would be like too expensive if it weren't the case that you could draft the
exactly.
cards you need, right? Like
Yeah.
just be always rotating. You just need to buy them every time. It's
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
As someone who's
It's
been doing that lately, it's too hard on the
it's
wallet.
too hard. It's really expensive. Yeah, someone had come into my chat recently, I think today, asking how expensive Timeless was. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, like, but honestly, if you want to get into it, like we've always said, for everything, always, the lands are just irreplaceable. Like,
Yeah,
you,
get your fetch lands, get your shock lands,
those are
and
so important.
then you're most of the way to building any timeless deck anyway. And get your like staples after that, like
Hmm.
you know, brainstorms. Brainstorm's a staple, man. You want to invest
Yeah.
in brainstorm, you don't have to feel bad about that.
Yeah. Do that. Bowmaster. If you want Dark Ritual, that's like a combo card. Lightning
Like I
Bolt.
may be quote unquote lucky because I had brainstorms from when I played historic, had all
Hmm.
my shocks because that's how we do.
Yep.
Um, I had Oko. I had, although I've never played Oko or Omnath or Uro, but I do have them
But when cards get
because
banned, yeah.
they were banned and we crafted them before they got banned so that we would get the free wild cards and still have
Hmm.
them in our collection.
In
Like
case.
I've
Just in
been playing
case.
long enough that I have all that stuff. But so Timeless was actually particularly cheap for me. I had to craft like Orcish Bowmasters,
Hmm.
and then
The fetch lands.
like I had Fatal Push, I had Thoughtseize, I had like
Hmm.
the fetch, and then the fetch lands. So for me in particular, it wasn't that bad. But that's why I'm saying it only seems expensive because you probably just don't have the cards yet. But it's not really more expensive than anything else that you don't have the cards
Yeah.
for.
It's kind of the classic thing of like, if you buy your deck, you'll be set for a while.
Yeah.
And only time will tell whether that will work out or not. Your
Right.
modern
So
deck from 5 years ago is not part of the meta anymore because they've changed things. So
yeah.
we'll see if that becomes an issue.
Right. So let's move on to that because if it's true that the decks have more longevity, then Timeless is one of the least expensive formats on Earth
Hmm.
because all the other ones are friggin' in constant turmoil.
Churn, 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 churn.
Um, so the question is, do we think that would happen? Now, I think if Wizards of the Coast, and this is the other thread I see all the time, what should the bans and restrictions be, in Timeless? To that I say,
Hmm.
shut up. It's been a month. Leave it alone. There are no restrictions coming anytime soon to
No.
Timeless. Nothing has proven to be an absolute ridiculous destroyer of the format, despite what the Orcish Bowmasters haters would say. Um, they're not going to restrict anything, not for a while. So the other question is like timeless anthologies. If I were a gambling man and I was confident that Wizards of the Coast was able to make their own decisions and was not receiving pressure from Hasbro, I would say that you won't see any changes to this format at all before Modern Horizons 3. I don't think there's a reason to.
Yeah. All right.
The format is healthy, it's looking good. Just people like it, just leave it and you have something on the calendar that's going to
Hmm.
shake it up. You have something that is explicitly there that's going to come in
Yeah. Wait.
and
Are we getting Modern Horizons 3 like fully on Arena? I think they might
fully,
have said
yeah,
that. Yeah. Right.
100%.
And I thought that that wasn't going to be important because that would only
Right.
affect
I was like, oh,
historic.
I don't care about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then now I'm like, what's gonna be in that set?
Holy shit. Yeah. All right.
Please no
So,
free spells. Please no free spells.
well, that's another thing. People are talking about we need force of will. We need ways to deal with
No,
these.
no, do not put Force of Will in this format. Yeah. That's similar to restricting Bowmaster, banning Bowmasters. It's
Hmm.
like it just
You have
eliminates
to play blue.
counterplay.
You got to play.
Yeah.
Well, it
Gotta
adds a
play
lot
blue.
of counter spell.
Mm.
um,
It eliminates anything you can do about me brainstorming.
it's true. Um, but yeah, I think we'll just have to see. Modern Horizon 3 will actually be interesting now. I actually completely forgot about that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
right. It's gonna be awesome. That's why when we were looking at like the next year
year.
of sets, I was like, I might be most excited for Modern Horizons 3, despite like a week ago, I would have said it's
Not
the one I care the least about.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, we will have to see. And obviously, they can always, if we do timeless anthologies, it'll just be like new cards that are like, they'll just be like whatever reprints of something, which is
Yeah.
always good. We'd love to see that. Though, to be fair, most of those have not been really worth buying the full bundles. But actually, that was the one
Yeah.
thing. So, because I was playing the sneak attack deck, I crafted more World Spine Worms, which originally I said you only need one ever because
Right.
of
I
the deck
remember
and
that
Explorer.
actually. And I was like, yeah, why would you ever want more
Why
than
would
one?
you just need one for the combo deck
Mhm.
and Explorer? Now I'm like, I have four, baby. Oh, hey, what are you gonna do? Times change, but
Love to be proven wrong.
yeah, really love it. Um, but I feel like I had something else to say about Timeless, just in a whole. Oh, yes, this was one thing. So something that was been coming up recently is that on Mark Rosewater's blog, Blogatog, um,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of discourse about Pioneer Masters because somebody had asked, "Are you going to
Wasn't
do
that
like a?"
axed? Is that a thing?
So basically, it was
Oh,
someone
somebody
asked
asked if you were gonna do it. Okay.
if they were going to do it. Yes, so it
Yeah. I
wasn't.
thought this was like something that was just known as coming
No,
out. I was like,
no, no,
whoa, I
no.
didn't hear about that.
No, 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 no. It was just like a question asked, and Mark Rosewater said it's not in the works, but we'll see what happens in the future. Basically, being like it could easily happen.
Yeah.
It's very much an if. It's not. We're not planning to do it, but it could be a thing.
That to me, that sounds like we don't want to do that, but Hasbro might
But
make us do that.
exactly, and that's
Yeah.
now every time Mark Rosewater's talking, I think it's always him just trying not to throw Hasbro under the bus because he's not. He would lose his job.
Right.
But
He doesn't
he's
want to,
under
get fired. So
immense pressure from Hasbro to do a bunch of different things that he doesn't agree with.
right.
And he did say that the best thing to do, because someone was asking, like, oh, if I want to slow down the amount of products that come out, blah, blah, I don't want to just vote with my wallet. What else could I do that wouldn't hurt local game stores and wouldn't hurt the company, but be able to let everyone know that this is what I think? He's like, just you have to tell people and you have to complain. Honestly, that's what he said. So if you are frustrated with certain things or just be adamant about it. You don't have to be crazy and you don't have to say like ban this thing or do this whatever and all that stuff.
And like,
But
don't be rude and like, don't be a
yeah,
bully and stuff
and
like
also don't attack specific
that. Let's be
employees
respectful. Yeah.
because most of those employees has nothing to do with it. Even
Right.
like
It's
Mark
not that
Rosewater,
they probably hate it too, man.
yeah, they're really upset because they just want to have fun and they want to make the game that they love. Like that's what all these people are
Right.
doing. But voice your opinions online in a very respectful way because though if you do it respectfully and very calmly, that opinion will be heard and considered as opposed to one that's very aggressive and violent it will just be pushed off, like pushed aside.
Yeah. Honestly, these days, I wouldn't be surprised if that stuff gets weeded out by AI. Like
Oh.
you have like a comment list, and you
Oh,
probably just
sure.
have an AI filter that's just like this is just like a rage thing.
This is just aggressive.
It's yeah, it's aggressive. Out.
No one needs to see this. Yeah. That
Right.
makes sense. Yeah. So the more calm and collected you are and put your thoughts into nice,
It's like
uh,
the opposite of when you're on hold on the phone where they have that thing that like if it sounds like you're really pissed, they actually move you up.
Oh, I didn't know. I haven't heard
Yeah,
that at all.
I don't know if it's a myth, but apparently it's like if you just start like screaming like the F word into the phone, they'll pick up pretty fast.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. Okay. I
Yeah.
get stuck on hold for a long time, so maybe I should start
Yeah, because you're too nice, man. Everyone else is
cursing.
yelling the F word and they're moving above you.
Yeah. God, I gotta do that. I gotta pick up the pace, be more angry and aggressive.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just want to say that, like, you know, criticism is heard as long as it's constructive. So please
Yeah.
just put your thoughts into a well formulated, paragraph. Um,
Yeah.
because complaining about something is good if you do it the right way.
For sure. Like then it seems like you have thought about it and you actively don't like, the direction they're taking and
Hmm.
you have a cohesive argument as to why instead of just like a gut reaction, I don't
Hmm.
like change and
Yes,
screw you.
which is hard to decipher. And
Yeah.
so they actually work really hard to seek out what people think about stuff. So if you like
Yeah.
Timeless and you want them to know that you don't want any weird changes like that, be like, this is awesome. This is my favorite deck. This. Please don't fuck with me. don't don't give me some crazy thing. Don't the
Ban
worst
Bowmasters
that
now.
like the worst thing they could do was like supercharge the digital only cards. That is the thing that
Yeah.
they could really fuck up. Is that
I
like
see the reason I'm confident they won't do that is because that would fuck up alchemy. And for some reason they like alchemy a lot. Like if the cards that are printed into alchemy are competitive and timeless, like
hmm
then any of the other cards they print in a standard set will not see any play in alchemy.
That's true. So,
So it will
but
make them less money
mhm.
in the long run because I think a lot more people play alchemy than timeless. So at the moment we have that
Really?
like a lot of people play alchemy. We have that and they published the numbers not that long ago and I was blown away. Like almost no one plays Explorer. Explorer is the least popular format. And Alchemy and Historic are really good. Standard is the most
Is the
popular one.
most. Yeah. I
Um,
remember seeing that and it was hard to actually figure out because like I don't know how many of the play queue stuff they're counting as alchemy because every
yeah,
time
yeah,
you make a new deck, I don't know how many random people are just doing
right,
that and
right.
they're just
That's
taking
fair.
those numbers.
But it was
Because
still surprising because I was like, people play Alchemy?
I think they have to whenever there's a tournament. But that
Yeah,
feels like it. If you're an alchemy player, come into our Discord and yell at us that we don't have a
yeah.
place for you to talk about alchemy
Let us
anymore.
know why it's the best. Um, but yeah, so I think right now Timeless has like that protective cover of we probably
Hmm.
don't have enough people playing Timeless for them to really turn their eye towards us
Hmm.
and slaughter the format. But it is possible, I think, that
How?
Hasbro hears that Timeless is popular and is like, "You're gonna do a Timeless anthology now," and then we get a bunch of stupid cards that shouldn't be in the
That shouldn't be in
format.
it. How funny is it that every format seems to be really good until Wizards starts turning their eye towards it. Like Commander
I
was
know every
so
time.
great, it was so fun, and then Wizards turned their eye towards Commander and they fucked it up. You know,
Yeah,
they were honestly
yeah,
like, here's a bunch of fucking free cards and there's a bunch of crazy shit. Modern, oh, here's a bunch of fucking free spells and a bunch of crazy shit. Like, just how many times do we have to make up a new format for ourselves so that like we can
yeah,
have fun with magic cards and get further away from what the company's trying to do? It's so funny. um
yeah.
oh well.
So I mean, it seems inevitable. It probably will eventually happen, but I would bet it's not going to happen before Modern Horizons 3. Why
Yeah.
shake up the format when you already have a shake up not that far away?
Mhm.
It's
And Modern Horizons 3 is this summer, right? That's the
yeah.
July set. Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking like 6 months or whatever, or
Hmm.
7 months. So like why would they release an anthology before then? Why would they ban or restrict anything before then when the format's healthy, man?
Hmm. Yeah, it's true, it's true.
Um, Yeah, real quick, some other decks I see a lot. Death Shadow, obviously.
Hmm.
Um, just sort of like Rakdos. I kind of call it
That's
Rakdos Pile. And to
mhm.
me, it's like slowly has evolved. And I played a lot of Rakdos Pile, by the way. Slowly has evolved into like, why are you playing this instead of Breach? Because it's like, just cut your worst cards and put the combo in. Your deck's better.
Yeah, just
Um,
cut your death shadows because they're awful and put it.
yeah, just cut that shit because like
Mhm.
you're going really low, and then I'm just bolting you in the face.
Yeah,
Um,
you're playing the eight life is safe. I think I can stay at
and then you're like,
eight.
ooh, yeah, but I have a 16/16 and like Fatal Push.
Yeah, it's true. You don't even have to revolt it.
Yeah, just get that one for free.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, what else is like seemed pretty good? I would say that there isn't really a control deck in the format that I am super scared of at the moment.
Hmm.
Um, like I don't know, is Counterspell a card you encounter often,
I
despite
have
being
I've run into
really good?
Counterspell. I've played against some like they feel like five color control, but
Right.
honestly, it's closer to like Azorius, the way that they
Yeah.
play, or like a Esper control kind of deck, where I do run into the actual Counterspell card. Um,
Right. I've played
I
against blue-black control, I guess.
yes.
I guess the other big one that I forgot, and we talked about it previously, is like the aggro deck of the format, I think, is
Hmm.
Zoo, like five
Yeah,
color Zoo.
five color zoo.
The more I play against that deck, the more I'm like, this deck's pretty good, I think, actually.
I like it, and it's actually one that I've turned my eye towards. Was thinking I wanted to play Death Shadow, but I think Zoo is closer to
I
my
would play
real play
Zoo
style.
before Death Shadow, I think.
Hmm.
I think it's like my all of my magic, like what do you call it, biases
Nostalgia, yeah.
were just like five color aggro. That's stupid. That's gonna be terrible.
It's gonna be terrible.
And then I keep losing to it. I'm like, that's pretty good actually.
Yeah. So
These cards hit really hard.
if anyone doesn't know what Zoo is, because that's like an old name,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So Zoo is referring to a deck where I believe Curd Ape was the first card to be put in a Zoo deck. Um, so Curd Ape is a monkey red card. It's a red card that gets power if you have a forest, right?
Right. It gets
Something like
+1,
that.
+2 or something.
Yeah.
It becomes a 2/3 or
It's
something
like a
like that.
2/1 that gets bigger because you have a forest in play. So
Yeah.
basically, any creature that is something you would find in a zoo. So like wild cottle is like one of the big ones. It's a 1 mana 1/1, but if you have a mountain and a plains, it's a 1 mana 3/3.
Yeah.
Um, things like that. So you're playing five colors, so you have all the different. It's basically a domain type of strategy. The most recent card that was printed with this is Nishiba Brawler, which is a one and a green for a like star three that has trample, and it
Right.
its power is equal
It's
to
a
your
it's a
domain.
5/3.
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
5/3. Um,
5/3 trampler for 2. It's like a kind of a Tarmogoyf kind of thing.
yes, but it has trample, which is much better.
Yes, if Tarmogoyf had trample, I might actually play it.
Yeah, I've played it. It's the games where you just have two Tarmogoyfs like bouncing each other, like bouncing each
Yeah.
other. They're like
Uh,
belly bumping, you know. It's just kind of like, oh, this sucks. I don't really like this at all. Um,
yeah.
but
And a quick PSA, I always do this when people can actually play with Tarmogoyf, but like,
mhm.
don't lightning bolt a 2/3 Tarmogoyf if there's no instant in the graveyard.
Yeah,
It doesn't work the way you want it to.
I've already seen that happen. Not to
Yeah.
me, luckily, not to me, but
Yeah.
um,
That's like an old if you played modern, you know this. Same
mhm.
with the Death Shadow tricks. Like um Death Shadow like grows essentially instantaneously, so you can block with it in weird ways where like it should die in combat, but it doesn't because the damage is dealt at the same time and it grows at the same like if they're attacking you and you block with it,
Oh,
yeah, Death Shadow is super weird the way that it works,
yeah.
and you can easily lose games to not knowing their Death Shadow was not going to die in your
Hmm.
attack. Um,
Yes. I definitely know the one where they attacked him with two 1/1 Death Shadows to be like, why are they doing this? I'm like, oh, it's because they
yeah,
have a couple fetch lands that haven't been cracked on the other side of the field. I
yeah, it's like
understand
fetch
now.
shock, fetch shock. Yeah,
Yeah, and you're like, oh, that's a good 6 point swing,
yeah.
but
But I do
two,
have to block it because it's a
yes.
fuckload of damage.
So either I block and
And
I
then they just don't
die.
crack it or something. They
Yeah,
crack one, and then you're like, oh, all right.
yeah, yeah. This sucks. Um,
immediately play another fetch land and attack again.
Yeah. So yes, that's that's a fun thing. But all in all,
Yeah,
the format's sweet. Um, and I'm excited. Like, it feels expensive to me because all my wild cards are going to it because I want to play
yeah,
more decks. And I think
right.
that's part of the thing. It's like getting a new tattoo where you're like, oh, I got one. That's so cool. I want my whole body to be filled with
Everything.
tattoos. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the same thing with a new format where you're like, oh, this deck was cool. I want to play all the decks.
yeah,
So,
yeah. But you can technically do that in any format. It's just that Timeless is so fucking cool that
yes, exactly.
it's really tempting to build another deck immediately.
Exactly. It just feels like the magic that we've heard of for so
You
long,
you
you
like
know?
lose to something and you're like, oh, I want to play that.
It,
That seems
yes.
awesome.
Yeah. I was literally watching a stream today that was timeless best of one, which I
Oh,
am not really
interesting.
usually interested
I
in.
didn't even know that existed. I thought it was like, the timeless leagues. They just don't exist
It just don't
for some
exist. Yeah,
reason.
yeah. But no, best of one is like somebody was playing like turn zero. They played like Leyline of Sanctity, so you can't target them. Turn one, they play Fragment Reality, which is a digital only card that exiles a creature or a enchantment, and then you chaos. No, you go and find a creature with you find the only creature in your deck, and the only creature
Yeah,
in their
yeah.
deck is Geist of Saint Traft, and so they have
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I've heard of this.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
So
We
then
were talking about glass cannons earlier. Holy
yeah,
shit. You just
yeah,
mulligan until you have a ley line, fragment reality, land.
mhm. Yep,
And then
and then you just do that, and Geist of Saint Traft just to be fair, it's a fair deck in the sense that you're attacking for like 3 or 4 turns. So
yeah.
it's not like you just win on the spot. You do
When
have to
it's like
just
Children's Edict, you're like, well, good
like,
game. Yeah, it's fun.
game's over now. Yep. Um, and I'm fine with that. I'll play that game. Lose
Yeah.
to that deck. I'll just slip out the back. It'll be fine.
I will
Um,
literally never crap that garbage, but
yeah.
do you think I'm
Those
gonna waste wild cards on shitty ley lines in Geist of Saint Traft?
I
No
think I
way.
oh no, I have those ley lines in paper because I was playing because they play it in boggles. But anyway,
All right, sure.
so
Yeah, so that's a good segue because I was like, we've talked about the decks we think are good. I want to talk about a few of the decks that I think were touted as good. We already mentioned multicolor control, but
mhm,
are just mediocre. Everyone was saying Sultai is going to be the best deck of the format. I think Sultai is fine.
yeah,
Okay. I don't think it's that good though. Like I routinely just win against Sultai because it just feels like they have a few really good cards and then they have a bunch of whatever air. But the big one is, and I'm sorry to the boomers, even though I'm somewhat a boomer myself, like mono black necropotence. I'm sorry, this deck is bad. The deck's bad. Like I rarely lose to mono black. I have even beaten turn one necropotence just playing the game.
mhm,
If that's your dream, that's like the thing everyone said was going to ruin the format if we didn't get Force of Will. It was just okay. You take a lot of damage, you don't draw any cards. My cards are so good that I can just go toe to toe with you on a 7 card hand. Like
mhm.
I think it's cute the whole like March of Deathly Sorrow thing or whatever it is to exile your whole
Gain life
hand, kill my thing, gain a bunch of life, and redraw it
and
all back.
redraw
But
it.
it's like
Yeah,
that's not that bad for me. You killed one creature.
mhm.
You exiled 5 cards to do it, and you drew 6. Like okay, that's decent. It's like a you can make it a 2-for-1. That's a lot of work for a 2-for-1 when every card in the format is already a 2-for-1. So I don't know. Maybe you have different experiences against this deck. I'm always like, little black, yes.
I've
They're
run
gonna
in.
like thought sees the wrong thing and then really, really play over it. Like their whole game plan is gonna be to slam Necropotence, and I'll be like, okay, you're at 11 life. Like, do it.
Yeah,
Slam it, man. I have a counterspell in my hand. It resolves.
yeah. I think that I have played against the Necropotence deck, and then what would happen is it would turn into another Tendrils of Agony combo deck that I was like, I thought I was playing against a different deck right now. And
So they're
the,
just playing bad Rakdos, basically.
yes, because their combo is getting a bunch of random. They're playing like this one deck I played against was just I was really confused what was happening on stream. They were telling me, "Oh, they're trying to do this." I was like, "Why are they doing it this way? It seems dumb." But it's like turn one spring leaf drum into
Oh,
then
geez. That's
yeah,
such an awful card. Oh,
yeah.
right. I already hate
So they play
it.
that, and then it's like Ornithopter, and then they use a Phyrexian Tower to sacrifice the Ornithopter, but they already tapped it for mana, and they're doing all this stuff. Basically, they're just trying to play Beseech the Mirror 4 times by sacrificing different things on the battlefield to get their storm
Okay.
count up to go get Tendrils of Agony. So like it I did die from it, but like that game, but it was like I
That's a
don't
lot
know.
of work, man.
That's a
That's a
lot
lot
of
of work.
work for an all-in combo, which
Yeah.
Necropotence is just there to turn one Necropotence to draw into the cards that you want for your combo that had you need like 4 permanents on the battlefield to
Yeah,
do.
it's a ridiculous combo.
Like,
And one of them is fucking Springleaf Trim. Like, I don't want to play that card in my deck. It's
no.
awful.
Like cards yeah. Anyway, it was just that was the most bizarre thing. I remember sitting there being like, turn one swamp basic swamp springleaf drum. I'm like,
Yeah,
what the
like,
fuck is happening?
I don't know what to expect.
I have no idea what's going on. Oh,
But yeah, I think like Mono Black, I don't know, it's like, is it even tier two? Like, I don't know. It seems
yeah.
tier three to me. It's like,
I don't
I
know.
don't know how this deck ever beats Rakdos for each, like, ever.
Thought ceases, hopefully.
Yeah. Thought season, hope they don't have a Bowmasters because I have to take that if they have it.
Yeah, I think that MTGA Zone says that it's tier two, but to be fair, tier two is like 10 decks.
It's like all the decks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Which
see
is,
that. Tier two, like tier two, tier three. Like I
yeah.
just don't think it's very good. And it was like everyone, I think it's mostly the hype that I'm responding to. Everyone
Yeah.
coming in was like, everyone's just gonna lose to turn one Necropotence, and that's just gonna be the whole thing. It's like, how long ago was it that Ritual Necropotence was a plague on the, on the format on
It
MTG? Like
was
20 years?
20, more than 25.
Turns out cards are better now than they were then, so there's a
Mhm.
lot more you can do to fight it. I will say though, well, actually this is a good segue into what I've been playing because
Okay.
I did
I'm ready for
did make a
this.
I did make a fatal error against this deck. It's kind of funny. I won the match, but I did lose that game because of it. So you're gonna love this. I
I'm
have
here
been
for it.
playing Dimir Rogues in Timeless.
I was wondering earlier if that was possible because it seemed like it could happen because of all the cards are really cheap. So, all right,
And
give
people fill their graveyards, man. People
that's
fill
true.
their graveyards. Um, yeah, it's cool. Like you play all the best cards. You play Brainstorm, you play
Hmm.
Bowmasters, you play
Thoughtseize, Fatal Push.
Thoughtseize, Fatal Push, you play the two rogues,
Hmm.
right?
The good ones.
And
Yeah.
then I personally have been playing Bitter Blossom because it makes fairy rogues.
Yes.
And those are my rogues.
Hmm.
Then my top end is Sauron's whatever.
Ransom. Yeah.
Yeah, Sauron's Ransom. I do have one Treasure Cruise at the moment, but I'm like a little iffy on it.
Hmm.
And then you have Memory Lapse and obviously the Rogues. The Rogues special,
Hmm.
Drown in the Loch.
Drown the Lock.
And then you have a few flex slots. I'm playing some snappy casters.
Okay.
Um, and it's been good, man. It
That
competes for
sounds
sure.
I mean, that sounds like exactly what that's the other thing I want to do. So I want to smash face, but I also want to play tempo. So because those are of my favorite deck styles. It's like tempo decks I love, smashing face and glass cannons. Those are the things. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
the
what I
deck's
play.
been really good, and like I just slapped it together and put together a garbage sideboard, and I just like almost never really sideboard and just keep playing the game like that. It's kind of what you want to be doing. Nothing really dies to Bowmasters unless you run out Thieves Guild Enforcer without
with
8 cards in the yard,
without whatever
which you don't have to do. And if they kill it, usually you're not that mad.
because it
But you
milled.
get your Luris too. Brings you back
Mm-hmm.
to the old days of rogues with Luris.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's been so fun, and I've been doing well with it. And now here's the kicker: you actually had a chance to notice I was doing this because oh,
Sorry, yeah, I'm good.
yeah,
I
I
did.
did it. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, no, no. You're good. You're good. Sorry.
All right, I was just gonna say because this brings a few
Okay.
of my points together at the
Here
same
we
time.
go.
I did it on the podcast account because the podcast
Oh.
account had most of those cards. It just needed, and I drafted a few cons drafts, and I was lucky enough to get a Polluted Delta and a Bloodstained Mire from that. Uh,
Oh.
and so our it's just sitting in our podcast account.
Mm-hmm.
But for those who don't know, a long time ago, a few years ago, we made a podcast account to sort of demonstrate our ideas about how you would run a free to play account. So this account has
Mm-hmm.
spent no money at all, not even the $5 welcome bonus that we usually recommend. It is worthwhile if you can stop yourself from
Mm-hmm.
continuing to purchase after that. Um, and what we did with it is we drafted a bunch, we built up wildcards, then we built a tier 1 standard deck, which was Dimir Rogues,
Mm-hmm.
and we hit Mythic with that deck. And that was kind of the idea was, look, you can hit Mythic, you can build your collection being totally free to play.
Rogues is the best.
Now, yeah, and of course, Rogues is the best.
Mm-hmm.
Now what I'm saying is you can play Timeless with a free to play account because we did that. We basically didn't touch it since we accomplished that feat of hitting Mythic in Standard.
Yeah, really.
It's literally been years. And so I just logged back in. We had 40 rare wildcards and like 40 mythic rare wildcards. We could build another timeless deck. We could build probably uh if it overlaps at all with this one, we could build 2 more.
Mm-hmm.
If it was totally different, we could build 1 more
One
because we
more.
still have like 20 or something. Because what I had to use was obviously fetch lands and then the brainstorms and like they're all staples, like Orcish
Yeah.
Bowmasters. Like everything I crafted was an absolute staple, even though the deck I built was not like a tier
Yeah.
1. We already had Thoughtseizes. I forgot about this. I did build rogues in Explorer on that account, so I craft like
Mm-hmm.
your
Yeah,
tier
we
2
had
or
done that
whatever.
along the way, I think. Yeah.
Crafted Thoughtseizes, so I already
And
had those.
Shocklands. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had some Shocklands. But for the most, like, there's a totally free to play account. We didn't put that much time into it, and we could have built any timeless deck that we wanted. I
Mm-hmm.
decided to build rogues because like that's what I wanted to try.
That's what the deck
And
is. Like that's what the
yeah.
whole account is our rogues deck.
Yeah, so obviously we're gonna build. If I'm gonna build rogues in timeless, I'm gonna go do it on the podcast account.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I was saying earlier, like, there's a reason I'm playing against a lot more like a different meta game, like a lot of 4-color control or whatever. It's because I'm in bronze or whatever. I'm still, like
Right, right,
I'm
right.
in the
Oh,
low
sure,
tier.
sure.
But also I still think like the players I'm playing in, it's not like they're pushovers and they have totally competitive decks. So
Mm-hmm.
timeless is such an interesting space because I think a lot of the people who are in bronze are like,
They're
ooh,
just
timeless. I'm gonna go play constructed magic again.
and they haven't played on Arena in months or
Right.
years.
So that's why they're in the lower tiers, but it's not because of a lack of ability.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the misplay. The epic misplay against
Okay.
the Necropones deck. So, geez, how did this even happen? Right. So I had my rogues,
Mm-hmm.
and my opponent had 7 cards in the yard, and I Thoughtseize them, knowing that this would put me to the fundamental 8 cards in the yard, which would let me kill them instead of being dead on board. Because if I lose 2 life, I'm dead on board.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, well, it doesn't matter. I Thoughtseize them. That puts them to 8 cards in the yard, and I killed them. Not so.
Nope.
Because Necropotence has secret text on it. if they would discard a card, it actually gets exiled instead, which is very important because otherwise they would draw like 16 cards and then just discard stuff and like fuel their graveyard shenanigans. Like
Hmm.
the designers didn't want the card to be about that. But it was incidental damage here because I was just like, I don't know if I cast Thoughtseize, like they're gonna kill me on the crackback, and I can't kill them now. And then it's like, well, that'll put them to 8 cards, and I just threw it out there. And like as it's on the stack, I'm like, no,
No, it'll get
no,
exiled.
no.
Oh,
Uh, so that was just a pretty funny punch because I was like, you know what? I'm okay with that. Like
yeah,
that's
that's
just
a rough one. That's such an awkward because most of the time you think of their exiles like, oh, if they discard a card to hand size in your mind, but then they actually do it from your spell, and you're like, oh, it works on mine stuff too. Fuck.
right, right. Yeah, like
Uh,
the reason that's on the card is for something totally different than
than
this
what I'm
situation,
doing right now.
obviously. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man. Rough. But I'm so stoked to play rogues. Um,
Yeah.
because
And I was wondering if like, are you gonna see that Arena Regulars is online at some
I
point
never
down the line?
saw. I didn't see that at all.
Because sometimes
Um,
you were online and I saw, because I only have 2 friends on the account, me and you, and so,
yeah, that's
someone
true.
was online.
And it wasn't you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't always check when I have friends online, but I would
Like
have
playing a
loved to
match or something too, and I was like,
exactly.
maybe I could sneakily like I have to be like a rogue. I'll be super stealthy and they
Yeah,
won't
yeah.
notice that I'm playing.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you'll definitely have to post that in the timeless
Yep,
bit in our
that
Discord
that
so I can play.
deck list will go
Um,
right to the Discord. It's still work in progress, but it is promising. I actually think there's something here. Like always playing at instant speed is pretty powerful in this format.
yes. Also, almost a headache, but it sounds like
Yeah.
really interesting.
Like the only sorcery speed stuff is like Luris and Thoughtseize. Everything
Hmm.
else is instant. And you just instantly are in the colors that get to play some of the best cards with Bowmasters and Brainstorm and stuff.
Yeah,
I play Sauron's Ransom mostly because it doesn't
it
care
doesn't
about
draw you.
Bowmasters.
Yeah, it doesn't draw you cards. It just puts them in your hand.
And so far, my default has been always take the hidden pile.
Yeah. I think something's better over there. That is
Yeah.
so hard. Especially when your opponent has like a bunch of Snapcaster mages and stuff. You're like, I don't fucking okay, so
Making the piles is next to impossible.
it's
In
so hard.
in this format where everything's so good, it's
Yeah.
just like
Anytime
unless
there's a
you get the dream where it's like a mediocre card and 3 lands. You're like, I'll show you a mediocre card in the land, and I will hide 2 lands.
two lands, yeah. That would be amazing. Every time
Yeah,
because there's fetch lands, people run fewer lands. So
yeah.
it's
People
just
like
like
this deck runs like 21 lands or
exactly.
something, right?
Because you can operate on so few lands that
Yeah,
like um yeah, you're just like, all right, so it's one land and Snapcaster Mage and then two great spells. What do I do?
I remember one of the first games I played. I cast Sauron's Ransom, and then I was like, oh, something happened, and I was like, oh shit, and I had to like Alt Tab. Well, I have 2 screens, but I had to go to another screen, go into Google, and be like, what does ring bearer like what does the
Oh,
ring tempting you do? Like go read the I'm like, oh, I saw an animation happen and I know I have a ring bearer now. I have
what
no
does it
fucking
do?
idea what that means.
You didn't look at the thing on the side, the little there's like a ring icon.
Yeah, it's on the left, right? Like I noticed it later that it's on that like left hand
Yeah, yeah,
bar,
yeah, the
but at
left
the
bar.
time I was panicking. I was just like I didn't know where to
What just
find that
happened? That's
information.
so funny. Oh,
Oh, just
that's
like
great.
seeing me rope and then like attack.
Oh, I can attack. That's good.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you can't block me? Attack.
Yeah, attack. That's great.
And my
Oh
opponent's
man,
sitting there like he's gonna attack. Obviously gonna attack.
just
Why is he taking so long to attack?
yeah, that's great. Oh man, now I'm just stoked to play rogues in timeless
It's fun.
because
It's fun. It doesn't have the same like I'm gonna mill you out or I'm gonna kill you with
mhm,
damage because like you're not gonna mill them out. It just the deck can't do that really.
mhm.
But people mill themselves so often, like, and it's fun because you're doing the dance of like I am fueling your treasure cruise
Mhm.
and your Uro or whatever, but I think it's still worth it.
Yeah. Oh, because I was thinking about it and I was like, is it worth it to play against that deck when, Rakdos Breach wants to use its graveyard? Like how much of an
That's the
issue is that?
biggest. I haven't played that specific matchup. I always play against Fractus Breach on my main
Other
account because
account.
I guess I'm higher in the
Yeah.
ranks. But um,
Because that's
I
the
play
that's the
against a lot of Uro though, and
okay.
I can pretty much always beat it.
Yeah.
So
Well, they play Euro, they draw cards, right?
yeah, exactly. And I have
Yeah,
like 3 Bowmasters on the battlefield.
that's true. But no, I was thinking specifically like, yeah, like can I play rogues? I don't know because of just fueling breach. But
Yeah.
I wonder if there's like a happy medium. Like, I don't know if we can play Cling to Dust. I've actually played against someone who did play Cling to Dust, but something that would
Well,
be able to help us out.
I play Cling to Dust. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Then
Um, and one of the most fun matches I think I've had in Timeless was I was playing Rogues and my opponent was playing Phoenix. And boy, did we have a good fucking match. I was just like, we both want your graveyard to be real full.
yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of like Phoenixes held back to block, like me not attacking because I have
Hmm.
to block a potential Phoenix if it comes into the battlefield. It's just like a really back and forth
That's
match. And
cool.
of course, I remember it so fondly because I did narrowly eke out the victory. So of
Yes,
course.
of
Yeah.
course.
It was the smile, did you have fun? Smiley face, not smiley face. It was a
And
big
you get to be
smiley
like,
face. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, I had
Sure
fun.
did. Sure did, Arena.
Absolutely,
My
Arena.
opponent's definitely clicking that frown,
I
but
said, no, I fucking lost. This sucks.
yeah.
Um, anyway, you heard it here,
I lost
folks.
to Rogues.
You can play a budget rogues deck on in Timeless. Um,
I mean,
and when I
it's the same cost as pretty much every deck that's like it.
yeah,
It has like 30 rares or whatever.
but we say budget because it was in our budget account. And rogues, just inherently, all the really important cards that make it
That's
rogues
true. Yeah,
are uncommon.
it is true. It
That's
has
not
like
true. There is a rare. Sorry, Guild. I
I
forgot that
forgot Thieves Guild Enforcer was a
Enforcer's a
rare.
rare.
Yeah,
It's
I
been
just
so
assumed it
long.
was an uncommon. Yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, that might be the best card in the deck. Like Thieves Guild Enforcer is
It's always been the
excellent.
best card. That's the card you want
Yeah.
to see on turn one.
Yeah.
Um,
And I've thought about Fairy Mastermind, but then I'm because that was my original, like, this is how you punish Brainstorm thoughts. And then I was like, is the fact that it's a rogue make it like worth playing over Bowmasters? Nah, fuck no. 4 Bowmasters.
well,
Like,
it dies to Bowmaster, so
yeah. And
you'd
it only
rather
draws you 1 card if they Brainstorm or whatever.
exactly, and you'd rather, yeah, you'd much rather
Your
just.
opponent probably doesn't even care. Like they'll just
Mm-mm.
slam Brainstorm right into that.
Yeah, I don't think they care at all.
Yeah. But Bitter Blossom has been good
That sounds
on the play.
really
It's
good.
been very good on the play. It's
Yeah,
been
are you
a
for?
little sketchy on the draw. I have 2 main and 1 side
Side, okay.
because it's a little sketchy on the draw. But it's been impressive because it if you have a Thieves Guild Enforcer out, it's just milling every turn.
Oh, that's true. Sounds great. Love it. Love it.
It is we actually, earlier when I said best deck of the format is Rakdos Breach, I'd like to amend that to the best deck of the format is Dimir Rogues.
Dimir Rogues.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jeff, I think that's a perfect time to wrap it up.
Yeah, I know we went
Timeless is
long. I just
sweet.
love this format.
Oh, well, we got to dive into it. I'm really happy with that. So if you want to check out that deck list, I'm sure Jeff's going to post it in our Discord momentarily. So come check
Soon
us
as
out.
I remember to do it.
Yes, after the drinks have worn off.
Yeah.
If you just go in the links down below, you can find all that information for our Discord and all that stuff. It's a lot of fun. But with that, Jeff, let's go to last call.
And for all the Rogues haters out there, just quick PSA or
Okay.
announcement.
Yeah.
There's no Ruin Crab in this deck, so you
That's,
don't have to hate it.
that's true. Ruin Crab, it's not a rogue, just
Although I kind of want to put it in the deck just to see if I get as many turn 1 concessions.
people don't know
Island
about that
Ruin
anymore.
Crab, feel free to concede.
Mm-hmm. Turn
I
2.
have a lot of fetch lands in my
Yeah,
deck.
it's true. It's true. Anyway, Jeff, let's talk about this beer we have in front of us.
Yeah.
Barrel Hearts Night and Day, both sweet things. It's the Saison with wine grapes. We're going to rate this on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. But as always, this has nothing to do with what tier you are in currently. It's just a fun way to rank beer. So don't feel bad when we say that bronze beers are trash. They're horrible. You have to spit them out. You pour them on the ground. They are disgusting.
Silver, these beers are bad or just boring. So macro brews find their way in this
Yeah.
category.
Gold beers are fine, but you wouldn't really drink them again.
Platinum are solid. You would drink this again.
Diamond beers are exceptional. You like these beers a lot, and you show them off to your friends.
And mythic, best the best. These are the Demir Rogues of the beer world.
Yes. Oh God, I love Demir Rogues. Um, with that being said, night and day, both things sweet. Saison on wine grapes.
Yeah.
I did really like this one.
Yeah.
I don't know if I liked it better than some of the other ones we've had, but it's
Exactly what I
still
was gonna say.
super good. Like it's so delicious. Any like I have not tasted a beer that this brewery has made that hasn't been
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Right. Because they have
So
just such a good baseline, so they
yeah,
can friggin' age it with whatever they want, and it'll still be
Fritos, it'd be
yeah.
great.
Well, now I want to. I'm
Okay,
gonna recommend. I'm gonna write the guy. I've met him a
because
couple of
you,
times. He'll be like, you know what you
yeah,
need to do? Cheetos actually would
Cheetos,
be my
maybe
recommendation.
Doritos. Just have a
Your
whole
beers
Eatos
aren't
thing.
orange enough. Is basically
Yes,
my theory.
that's what I think.
Um,
Um, but no, it's tasty. It's tart in a good way. Um,
when
like
I drank it, my feeling was like, this is what I want sours to taste like. Like this is my idea of a good sour beer. It's like it tastes like
mhm,
beer, has that kind of sour element. But like you, like I think the Goza and the just plain saison were
mhm.
mm, like noticeably better to me.
Yes,
I
yeah, yeah.
preferred them.
Hmm. So
So
this is Diamond.
yeah,
Um,
diamond.
yeah.
And I don't know that I got like wine necessarily. I got like the sour and the grapes and the beer, but it
Yes.
does say wine on the bottle, and I think that was part of my thing. Is like I was hoping it would be a little winier.
Whinier?
The first time I've ever asked for something to be
That's
winier.
so funny. Yeah, I was gonna say that you're never really into that. Yeah, the color was completely light. It was very much night, or sorry, day.
Yeah.
um,
See, you got confused because they
I did.
swapped the
They
order
did.
on you.
Honestly,
Yeah.
this would have been a perfect beer to drink during Innistrad, but what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
couple years too late.
Yeah.
Um,
I should have moved to Hamilton earlier.
uh, anyway,
Said nobody ever. I mean, what? Yeah, no,
yes,
I love
yeah, yeah.
Hamilton.
No, no, you love him. The hammer, right?
Yeah.
Um, but no, anyway, this is a great beer, and Barrel Heart is just fantastic. I wish that I could see more of their stuff. I only get them through you because you know them. So um,
They're fantastic.
they're very good. Very, very good. Um, love it. Good to start the new year with a great beer.
Yeah.
Um,
And you just have that confidence, like it's barrel hard, it's gonna be good.
it's gonna be good. Like I've never tasted something bad from them.
Hmm.
Anyway, Jeff, let's go to closing time. So, as always, you can find us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram.
And I'm excited to finally revive this. You may also find us on MTG Arena under the username Arena Regulars Podcast in the timeless queues.
Mm-hmm. If you want to talk to me personally, you can find me at Zulberg. That is Zeulberg on Twitter and Instagram. On Twitch, I am regular_Zach. But Jeff, where can they find you?
Best place is on our Discord channel, as Zach mentioned. Best place to find the link for that is in the show notes, and you'll find some awesome deck lists there. So go
Yeah,
check it out.
almost all of them are Jeff's.
No, that's not true. Some of our
That's true. We have
listeners
some great
actually post
decks.
deck lists as well.
They do.
I think
They
what you just say is like very few of them are Zach's.
That's really what I'm trying to say is that I don't really post my own decks because I like playing other people's. Anyway,
Oh,
the also
sorry to interject, but I heard a
go.
great quote, or I read it. It was on Reddit the other day. But the quote was attributed to Patrick Chapin. But he said, if your deck isn't at least 25% brew, you have no heart. And if your deck isn't at least 25% net deck, you have no brain.
All right. Well, I guess I'm the 25% brain.
You have no heart, I
I have
guess.
no heart, and you have all heart.
You have
Um,
all brain. But I just like that because it's
that's it.
like why are you trying to build completely from scratch when there are people before you that have already done that work and done it
Yeah,
well?
that's
And that's
true.
been our like philosophy on net decking forever.
That's
It's just
I.
like ridiculous not to. So
Mhm. No, I think that's great. I will. I'll have to think about that more often. Um, But if you want to support the podcast, listening is the best way to do that. But also, if you just want to give us a like, follow us on different platforms that you see, leave us a review is really helpful on Spotify, iTunes, things like that. Go to our YouTube channel, leave us a comment, things like that. Just, help us out a lot. But honestly, if you just tell your friends about the podcast, that helps out the most. So
yeah,
thank you so much. We appreciate it. This has been the Arena Regulars.
reminding you that the best deck in Timeless is Dimir Rogues.
Good night. All right, that's fine.